Well, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. I'm Michael Wolf Grafstein, and I want to welcome you to Mike Grafstein Hypnosis. And today, what we're going to talk about is sports performance anxiety and change your story. That's right. So, we're going to look at this from a different perspective because with sports performance anxiety, everybody has a little bit of a different story. In other words, what does that mean? Everyone you play, whatever sport you play, you have your own story of how you're going to go out and fail or how you're going to go out and make mistakes for whatever reason, right? So maybe it is time to change that thought process, to change that story to a story that would suit you better, a story that you would be maybe more successful, a story in which you actually maybe you make a mistake and you do an amazing recovery because that's how you decided to change your story, kind of a thing. So let's focus on, again, like I said in a previous video about sports performance anxiety, we look at it as a process, a step-by-step thing as to what you do, what triggers you, and where it takes you, the mistakes, and then probably how you feel afterwards. So let's change this to a story. So, for example, if you have that performance anxiety and you go in and you play your game, what is the story going to be now that is different because you have changed the story? So, the last time we talked about hockey, let's talk about soccer. Let's say you're a midfielder, and as a midfielder, you're going up and down the field. You are supporting both the defenders and you are supporting both the strikers. You're supporting both at the same time. So maybe your story or your quote unquote anxiety is maybe you feel you're not fast enough or skilled enough to be able to make the plays, to make the passes. And maybe you make mistakes and you get all tensed up and your teammates aren't happy and maybe your coach isn't happy. I know, I've seen it. So what would you want to be different? What would you want to have instead for your story? What do you want that is different? Something that you can feel good about. So maybe, for example, you want to be faster. So what do you have to do about that? You have to work on that outside perhaps of your training and your passing. You could always work on that and get help from your coaches. So maybe now your story changes to from messing up to, okay, what do I need to do to be better in the position that I am playing? What do I have to do? And when you start to focus on what you need to do to make those changes so that you're more successful, your brain starts to look for solutions. You're starting to change your story. So it slowly becomes, oh, okay, maybe I can be faster. Maybe I can make better plays. And if you start playing this movie over and over and over again in your mind instead of what you were doing before, perhaps this time you can change your story with a better outcome, a more successful outcome. So if you're starting to feel nervous, if you are quote unquote messing up, because you're so anxious, like really, really anxious, you're getting tight and all that kind of stuff. Change your story, change it to something that is positive. And ask yourself, what is it that I need to do to get me into that level of play so that I can focus on doing something better, more positive. And when I do that, I'm going to change my story and focus on it so I can have a better outcome the next time I play. I'm Michael Wolf Grafstein from Mike Grafstein Hypnosis, and I want to thank you for listening to Change Your Story, another way of dealing and working with sports performance anxiety.